Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube? This is SEL0320 representing JVS. So I'm back here again for another review, and a review that I did not expect to be eager to give. I knew there was a lot of hype behind it, and I was like, what more can I say about this film that everybody hasn't said? But ironically, there's a lot to actually say about Logan. And this was actually directed by James Mangold. He directed the Wolverine, which is the last one, which that would have better served as a rated R film. But he also has directed films like Girl Interrupted, Winona Ryder, Angelina Jolie. He's directed A Walk the Line, and those were critically acclaimed. And I think that he knows how to work characters' dialogue to make them raw to form of who they are. This is just a really interesting scenario where you have Professor Xavier, you've got, of course, Hugh Jackman back as the Wolverine, but then you've got a new character in the line of Laura, and how she connects with both of these men, how things just move forward are very intriguing in terms of the mythos of Wolverine. I have to say, this is the rawest I've ever seen Hugh Jackman's Wolverine ever. And what I mean by that is, when you see like X2, and after he kind of gets the compound gets invaded by, Stryker's group, and Wolverine just goes all out. That is nothing. That's child's play compared to how Wolverine is in this. Like, when you look at those gritty comics of Wolverine just going in, that is the authentic version of Wolverine that you get. It makes me sad that, man, I wish we would have always had him like this. I wish this was always never these barriers that were kept from a PG-13 rating, where this is very much an R. And yes, there is a lot of language. Yes, there's a lot of violence. Now, when I mean violence, there is gore. The first opening scenes, you understand the depths of how dangerous, how gory, and how unraveled Wolverine really is. And it's just intriguing, but it's not just Wolverine. And Patrick Stewart gives one of his best performances as Professor Xavier. What he was able to bring to the table from an emotional standpoint, from a sincerity standpoint, from a lot of wisdom. He kind of comes off as this grumpy old man that, just don't give a darn. It might be dealing with, his own ailments, and he might be dealing with some other things I don't want to bring up because it's more spoiler territory. But it's at its core, he is still very much Professor Xavier, still trying to save a life, which has always been Hugh Jackman from X-Men 1, you know what I'm saying? And they even make reference to that. I think that's one of the things about that the film benefits from having history. 16 years worth of Wolverine, that we've known, and Hugh Jackman's character, it goes through all the different stages of that without the need for all these extra characters. But as I said, there's a new character in town, and her name is Laura. And what she can do and who she is, I don't want to say it here. I feel like I'm going to have to end up doing a spoiler review. But, dude, what she does, her dialogue, her subtleness, her connection to Wolverine is just so authentic, so chemistry-driven, that by the end of it, I debated, am I about to cry right now? Legitimately, I actually felt remorse and things I didn't think I would feel. But then at the same time, Boyd Holbrook, who plays the role of Pierce, and Stephen Merchant, that plays the role of Caliban. I think that with Pierce as a villain, he was very intriguing. I did not expect to really like him, but I really did. It was weird because I felt like I didn't know enough about him and his connection with Laura to really, merit that intrigue. But I think it had to do just off dialogue. The thing about this film, this is very dialogue driven. This is not an action film from here to here to here to here. When the action comes, and when the gore comes, and when the violence comes, and when the sadness comes, it comes at a slow burn. I really mean that. I remember certain westerns that, when things happen, it pops off, and it's memorable. You know what I'm saying? And then I know, some action films that, it was just action all throughout. I think Civil War is a good example of that. It was just scene to scene to scene, action, action, action. There's never a moment to really kind of just stop and just marinate on the situation. When there was a violent moment that happened, when there was a grotesque moment that happened, it meant something. There's a progression. There's they're not just mindless things that are happening just for eye candy. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's gonna actually sway one people one way or another. I think this movie is gonna be very subjective, and in the sense of how people internalize it. I think from the critic in me, this is a great film. This is a great film. From the superhero side of me, I can look and be like, okay, this person is like the methodology for Laura's character does not line up with who she is, or like the main arc of the villain and what it unfolds to and what the real deal is, that doesn't make sense to continuity, and they're just messing up the line of the X-Men. And I think that people could piece apart the movie in that standpoint, but taking the movie as is, go into this film realizing that you're not going to get an action movie from here to here to here. You're going to get a great story. You're going to get characters giving dialogue that means something. Like I was actually talking to Darrell, he hadn't seen the movie yet. I was telling him that pay attention to the dialogue, because the dialogue tells a story of their past. Like if you don't really pay attention to their dialogue and you just kind of fall asleep on it, you're not going to enjoy this film. Like I can tell you that. But I've paid attention to things that Professor Xavier and Logan were saying to each other, or even they were saying to Laura, or they were saying to other people, or even like what was the character, Caliban, when he was talking to Wolverine about, where he was at this point, like why he's so battered, why is he so sick, why are these things happening, like, and you're like, you have to listen to the dialogue to understand the progression of how amazing the script actually is. Like, I think that this is one of the better stories that they've done for superhero films in a long time. I'm not saying this is better than The Dark Knight, but it's on the same kind of level. It's just not as intense. This is very much a slow burn and just a progressional story. And it's very a one-track story, Like, it's not necessarily, leading into another film. That might be another detractant for different people. I think some people are going to be like, well, this doesn't lead into the next X-Men film. This doesn't make sense to this. Like, this is the calling card, the curtain call for Logan, Wolverine, Hugh Jackman in every way. Like, I got what I wanted to see in Wolverine in every way. The cinematography and how they showcase the action. It was moments that I was like, normally like they blurred past it or they wouldn't show certain things. They show it all, bro. There was one scene in like a hotel and like Wolverine was just kind of going in on people, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And like me and Alicia were sitting there watching it, and like she was jumping. She was like, what? And I was feeling the same thing. These were moments that as much as I'm a comic book nerd and would love to see, like these different characters that I want be in there and be a part of like the old man Logan arc, I knew that that's not something that's plausible based on Marvel and Fox and what they are connected and what they're not, and it's just certain things that the old man Logan story cannot unravel itself within the confines of this film. But that does not say that this film is not merited as a good film. And that's the thing. I think that for me, this is a very serious superhero film. I think that a lot of people, critique Man of Steel. It was like, this isn't like a superhero film like I wanted. Like this is more like dried out dialogue, or even with Batman Superman, like, this is just kind of dried on. I'm not comparing this to Batman Superman or, Man of Steel, but I'm saying that people's expectations might be one way and they're going to get something totally different. So from a critic standpoint, from the movie standpoint, this was plotted well, this was done well, and this was edited very well. Even like when I like to call the other night, that was edited very well. But anyway, long story short, I'm going to give Logan a 9.5 out of 10. This is my third favorite film this year. Like, it was Split, then it was Get Out, and now it's this. And I looked at Kong yesterday, and that was freaking dope. So far, so good, you guys. If, like, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, Thor Ragnarok, Justice League, if those end up being great films, great. But this is a defining film that was needed to bring superhero films out the box, just like Deadpool did. And, oh my gosh, well, never mind. I'm not going to say anything. There's nothing after the film. I'll say that. But if you're going to the IMAX feature like I did, which is great in IMAX, pay attention and get there early. That's all I'll say. So 9.5 out of 10, Logan. Hopefully you enjoyed my review. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Peace, everybody.